Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing? You know, I told Bill I couldn't believe you have this great audience here at 8 o'clock in the morning, seated, ready to go. So I'm going to try to do my best to convey to you the things that are happening around the world and the trends that are going to impact our businesses and our lives, especially technology trends that I think are going to dramatically change the way we understand our ecosystem. What I want to do is convince you that these trends don't stand alone either. They're somewhat connected, and it is the combination of how they work together that are dramatically changing. They're disrupting industries, and it's going to be up to you whether you embrace these trends and whether you disrupt or whether you will be the one that will be disrupted. So let's begin by talking about the first trend, and I'm so glad that so much has been said about software these days, because I think software and software development is absolutely amazing in what's happening over the last several years. So the first trend that I see is that software development is getting faster, better, and easier to do than it's ever been. And why is that happening? Well, you now have all kinds of application programming interfaces, APIs, that developers can use. We at AT&T open up our network and make our APIs available to developers so they can develop great applications. Those kind of things, as well as agile development, are making software in an incredible way. I'm glad we have so many young people here, because we at AT&T have been holding hackathons at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas for the last 5 years. And what we see over those last 5 years is an incredible improvement in what young developers can do to develop software essentially in 2 days that they present to us, and we select a winner. And I'm telling you, if you give young developers APIs, Red Bull, and pizza, it's amazing what they can do in 2 days. Absolutely amazing. So software is so impactful that back in 2011, Marc Andreessen is a famous venture capitalist out of Silicon Valley, said that software was eating the world. If you remember that famous op-ed that he did for the Wall Street Journal. And it's really appropriate for this crowd, because what he said back then is his model for a company that was using software to eat the world at that time was Amazon. Well, a lot has changed since then, and now things are going to change completely. But let me give you some additional insights that I think are really important as you think about software. Yes, it's getting faster, it's getting better, it's getting easier, APIs are here, but there's another aspect of software that I wanted to bring to your attention that is dramatically going to change the workspace, and that is virtualization. The use of virtual machines to do functions today that were physical functions is going to be a dramatic trend. We at AT&T have actually committed that 75% of our network functions are going to be virtualized by 2020. So we are committed to this. Virtualization and the development of software-defined technology, as well as open interfaces, are going to dramatically change the way we do things. Now, let me give you an example in case that this isn't clear. But when you talk about virtualization, you probably are using a virtual machine of some kind in the simplest way almost every day. I know I do. But today I wake up and I use my smartphone. What do I have on my smartphone? My alarm clock. It's kind of a software riding on hardware. That means you no longer have to carry an alarm clock when you travel as much as I do around the world. What's another one? A flashlight. The same hardware with different software now makes it a virtual flashlight, right? And I'm sure all of you have a virtual calculator in your smartphone. Well, that same kind of concept is happening in networks. It's what kind of you're here for. So when you virtualize a network, those kind of things happen in massive scales. I'll give you one example, and that is firewalls. In the past, in many cases, when you bought a firewall, what did you have? You had a box that is shipped to you that has hardware and software. You install it, you hook connections to it, you turn it up, and you think you're very secure. Today, how is that done? Software. You no longer need a specialized hardware. You can commoditize the hardware, all the intelligence in that in that firewall is coming with software. So what does that mean? It means that we have, at least at AT&T, thousands of people over the years that have been installing hardware. Now everything is going software. So we have you may have a huge training issue to convert people that have been doing things with hardware, and they're going to be delivered with software in the future. So at AT&T, what we have done is we've worked really hard to reskill our employees so they can, in fact, be able to operate in the new environment. We have actually been very transparent with employees to say, if you have a job in hardware today, we're telling them how many jobs are hardware-driven today, how many of those we'll have in 2050 and 2020. So if you look at hardware, we may say we have 5,000 jobs today. 2020, there'll be 50. But at the same time, we'll tell them we have 50 software jobs today. By 2020, there'll be 5,000. And then we have a curriculum that allows those employees, if they want to retool themselves, reskill themselves for this new environment that's going to take place. We actually worked the courses with Udacity. Udacity is an online learning company founded by Sebastian Thrun. And so employees can now take courses that allow them to get nano degrees that certify that they have the skills to perform the new functions. I'm proud to tell you that after introducing it just a little bit over a year ago, our employees have taken 1.2 million courses already, getting ready for this transformation. So software and virtualization are dramatically changing how we think, how we do our jobs. Just one further thing on education, which I'm so glad that you have so many young students here. In addition to the things that we've done to train kids and our employees with the nanotechnology courses, we've done the same thing with Masters of Computer Science degrees. We have worked with Georgia Tech in Atlanta and developed an massive online open courses using the MOOC concept that actually grants anyone a Master's in Computer Science degree that can be taken completely online, and the total cost of that master's degree is $7,000. If you go to take that course at Georgia Tech, it'll probably cost you $50,000 to $60,000. And we have already 200 students from AT&T taking part in it, and we're paying their full tuition, the full $7,000, so we can get the skills that we need. So software is dramatically changing everything. That's the first trend. But when you take software advances and then you add to it mobile technology, mobility, then the whole world begins to change. Because now mobility enables the software to move where? To the cloud. If you have mobile devices, those devices are not going to be big enough to handle all this software. So software and data moves to the cloud. Many of you here are in the networking business. Anytime that software moves to the cloud, it's great for our business because you need connectivity to the cloud. You need security to the cloud. But now when things move to the cloud, they can be done in a much more different way. And they will impact not only things in Northwest Arkansas, in every corner of the world. I'll give you an example of that. I just came back from a trip to Europe where I was in London and Munich and Geneva. And it is just amazing what people are doing and the impact that it is having worldwide. So if you take the Mark Andreessen example from 2011, that software was eating the world, and you bring it to 2015, he no longer says that software is eating the world. He's changed that line. You know what his new line is? Mobile is eating the world. Mobile devices and the software and capability in it are absolutely eating the world. Now, let me tell you what I saw in London when I was there a week ago Monday. I opened the front page of the Financial Times, and the front story across all of London is the London Black Cabbie School is shutting down. If you've ever been to London and you're riding one of their black cabbies, it takes 3 years to be able to go to college at the cabbie college to get your degree that allows you to drive one of those black cabs in London. And they're really, really good. But this Monday, they shut the school down. And there were 2 reasons for shutting it down. The high taxes of the infrastructure that was needed, and number 2 was Uber. Uber is my customer. We worked with Travis Kalanick, who was their CEO early on when he came to us and said, we need to put phones, in that case iPhones, in the hands of our drivers. Can you help us? We did, and a few years later, the most prestigious cabbie school probably in the world is shutting down because now what they could do in that 3-year school, Uber can do with a smartphone, software, and the cloud. It is dramatically changing industries, and either you adopt and embrace this technology or it will absolutely disrupt your business. I tell people, this is such that you either embrace it or it will disrupt you. So the software and mobility combination is absolutely a great trend that I see, and there is absolutely nothing to stop it. By the way, a lot of these companies like Uber, Airbnb, the same way, they have one characteristic, is that they don't require a lot of inventory, right? They don't own assets. Neither one of those companies owns assets. In fact, there was an interesting study that just came out of Morgan Stanley, and they looked at the top 1,500 companies in the U.S. by market capitalization. And they found out that more than 20% don't have any inventory. No inventory. Which companies are those? Those are the companies that I'm talking about. The Ubers of the world, if you will, or Uber-like, that are having a completely different model to reinvent it. So the combination of software and mobility are dramatically changing things. The third trend is something we began to talk about here, and Roger mentioned it just a minute ago. It's video. Now, there's two kinds of video, what I call entertainment video and then business video. Entertainment video is skyrocketing. Young people today no longer want to watch their video content on a TV. They want to watch it on their smartphone, on their tablet. They want to watch it anytime they want to watch it, where they want to watch it. So there has been an explosion of video in our network, and especially in mobile devices. Right now, over 50% of our traffic is driven by video in our networks. And just to give you an example for how dramatic this is, if you take the time frame from 2008 to 2014, over that period of time, our network's data usage has grown 100,000%. 100,000%. That's 1,000 times. So if you think about traffic and highways, whichever highway you drove in, imagine if that highway had been 1,000 lanes wider. That's what we've had to do to build our network to handle the traffic capacity. And you know what? There's no stopping it. It's going to continue because that's what people love. They want to see their video wherever they're at. But there's another part of the video that I think is also important to you in business, and that is that the cost of video conferencing continues to come down. In the low $1,000 to $2,000 will get you a pretty decent teleconference video capability, so that I think in the future, every conference room will be a video conference room. We just restacked some of our buildings, and in Dallas, for example, and every conference room has video capability. And it's relatively inexpensive, and it works extremely well. I tell people that I think in the future, when you build a conference room, the video capability, just for the equipment itself, will likely cost you less than the table you're going to put in the conference room. That's where trends are going. So the third trend is video. The fourth one is the Internet of Things. And what I mean by that is things that are connected to the Internet that are not PCs or laptops or smartphones or tablets. Things that have never been connected to the Internet are getting connected to the Internet. And the reason for that is the amount of data that can be obtained, real-time data that people, businesses have never, ever had before. And either you understand the impact of that, or again, you will be disrupted by people who do. The best example I can give you of connecting things to the Internet has to do with cars, because we led the entire industry, in fact, I would say the entire world, in connecting cars. We saw a future in connecting cars that others actually didn't believe in. Actually, there were car companies that told us that they didn't see ever the need to have their cars connected. And they thought, well, people bring smartphones into the car. Everybody has a smartphone. Why does the car need to be connected? So they said, no, we're not interested in that. But then the companies that got connected, what did they get about the car? 24/7 real-time operations data on every component in the car. They could tell how well the brakes were working. They could tell how well the battery's working. They could tell when it failed, when it was about to fail. And being an engineer, I can tell you that if I have that data and I'm building cars, I can build a heck of a lot better car than somebody who doesn't have that data. And how do most car manufacturers get data when their cars break down today? It's exactly when you take it to the shop. And many of those local dealers may not even send the data to the manufacturer, as opposed to the manufacturer getting a direct connection to that car and knowing how well that car is working 24/7. Today, I don't know of a car company in the world that is not connecting their cars, and the companies that said they didn't need it to us came back and say, please, put us back in the front of the line and get us the connectivity, because now we see that. And that is happening industry after industry after industry. And I think as a result of that, we're going to get a hell of a lot better cars. They're going to be safer, and they're going to be more secure as a result of having the things that are being done by engineers in car manufacturers all over the world. The same thing is happening with almost every other company that I can think of. We just announced a big deal with Maersk. If you don't know who Maersk is, they're based in the Netherlands, and they actually ship cargo containers. You can see these rectangular cargo containers that go across the ocean, and they have been doing this for a long time, but they didn't have any way to tell them where those cargo containers were. They were not connected, so they would ship them, and for years, they would not see the cargo container come back because it would go all over the world. Well, we're now connecting 290,000 of those containers, and not only do we tell them exactly where they're at, we tell them the humidity, we tell them the temperature, we tell them where that has had excessive shock. So it's a different way of running businesses with data that customers have never, ever had. And either you understand what that can do to a business or you neglect it. And in those cases, I think there's a real danger that whatever anybody does will actually get disrupted by people who have this data. Massive amounts of data are going to be produced. And now the latest forecast is for anywhere between 25 billion to 50 billion things will be connected to the internet by 2020. I don't care whether you believe it's 25 or 50, but that's a huge amount of things that are going to be connected. And what are those things producing? Data. So what's the fifth trend? Data analytics. Many people call it big data. I don't care what you call it, but it's taking massive amounts of data and doing analytics on it so you can better understand what is happening in your business. So the IoT connects you, but the big data analytics is what gives you the insights that help you to understand what is happening. And it's taking industries, the combination of these things is taking industries that were about to die and is reviving them. I'll give you one example, and you see this probably every day of the week, and you may not notice what is going on. But I guarantee you, when you leave here, you're going to drive through a billboard. You're going to see a billboard. We buy a lot of space on billboards, so we had a unique interest to understand how efficiently that business is run. And just to give you some insights, today, when we advertise on a billboard, the information we get is how many cars drive by it every year. That's the kind of data that's available today. That's what almost everybody in the industry does. And the billboard industry is slowly in decline. But now comes software, mobility, the Internet of Things. So now I can take my mobile information, information, by the way, that is anonymized, so it's not individual, it has privacy, and I can tell how many people drive in front of that billboard every hour of the day, every day of the week. And if you combine it with demographic data, I can tell you the geographic makeup of that crowd that's driving by the billboard. I can tell you by gender. I can tell you by income level. So we did a study in Dallas and showed a billboard company that if what you were interested in doing is in advertising your product for, say, to appeal to women 30 to 45 that had an income level of 50,000 or more, you only had to buy 2 billboards in Dallas and you would get your entire audience. Forget the rest. The rest didn't matter. Do you think that's important? Do you see that? So we presented that to the billboard company, and they thought it was so significant. They said, let's get everybody in the billboard industry together so we can understand this, and we've made presentations to them so they can understand how that can dramatically change the way that things are being done. Now, let me go to the last one, and this is a combination of all the other things. So if we have software that's moving to the cloud, devices that are proliferating, video that's exploding, you've got the Internet of Things having multiple points, and this big data, what's the last big trend? And this is so important that almost every week there's a major headline about it. It's security. You've got to keep this data secure. But that's a huge opportunity for all of us. As individuals, we want our data to be secured. We have a job in the industry to make it secure, to give customers the options of what they want to do with their data. We believe it's their data. But the thing that I hear from almost every CIO that I talk to is what is number one on their top priority is security. Just this week, there's another headline with another company who got hacked and their records were stolen. When I was in London, there was a company called TalkTalk who actually was broken into by hackers, and they were kind of held at ransom. They were asking them for ransom, or they were going to put their customers' information on the internet. So protecting everybody's privacy is really important, so it's a great opportunity. What I hope I have given you are 6 trends that I think there's no stopping them, and our only challenge is to decide whether we want to get to the future first, embrace them, and be the disruptor, or stay comfortable in our operating environment and get disrupted by them. At AT&T, we've taken the position that we want to get to the future first. We want to get our customers to the future first. And as I went through Europe last week, it became pretty evident that the things that we're doing here are unique in the sense that they're leading edge. We're building software-defined networks. We're doing them with a mobile-first mentality. We're leading with the Internet of Things, and we're building incredible capability when it comes to data and analytics. And I can't think of a better group of people to speak to than this Northwest Tech Council here in Arkansas, because I tell you, I am super impressed with the people that are in this audience. I'm super impressed with what the Chamber of Commerce of Bentonville has been able to do to get you here at this critical time and allow me to just share my thoughts on the trends, but these are trends that at the same time are opportunities. And I like to tell people that opportunities are often missed because they are disguised as problems. So people walk away from them. Where there are problems, there's opportunity. And I've been fortunate in business to run into a lot of opportunities in my time. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to address you this morning. Thank you.